Yep. Right over here. Yep. Morning, everybody. Thanks for coming out this morning. Just a reminder to let us know who you are and what platform you're with your first question. For those of you that might not be around all the time, flag me down. I'm creating a queue here, and I'll call on you for your question. And with that, we'll start out with David Moore.
Jerry, David Moore, Dallas Morning News. I'll start with a couple today and get a legal question off the top and then move to football if we can. You've been involved in several fraternity suits that have gone through the system over the last couple of years. What led to the resolution to this latest trial in Texarkana after just one witness?
Well, we got it, we got it resolved like I wanted. And so it was unfortunate, but it is resolved, and that was, of course, very sensitive with my family, and it was very sensitive with the unique publicity that's involved with the Cowboys, and but it was involved satisfactorily for all concerned. I won't be commenting any more about it, but I certainly are where I want to be.
And from a football standpoint, I know you've said before that the worst place a fan base can be is when it's apathetic or there's apathy involved. Coming off this off season, there doesn't seem to be apathy. There seems to be a lot of frustration with how the season ended and what you have and haven't done. And since then, do you sense a stronger sense of frustration than you have in the past? And if so, what do you attribute it to?
The way that, as I sit here today at almost 35 years, you've got to help me with my mathematics here, but almost 35 years. I see several faces that I saw 35 years ago here, and but after 35 years, the one thing that's for sure is ambiguity, and just the nature of what being a part of sports and part of football is very ambiguous. The reality of it is that you are continually dealing with much unfinished business. There's almost no way to segment parts of the running and the evolving of a team from one year to the next. You can have specific agreements, and those agreements have all the right terms in them, and yet you still might have non-execution of the agreements. We've had people with contracts that didn't come to camp. So you've got to make that reality. That's what happens. And so that you can't be and do what I have the privilege and the opportunity to do, and that's be a part of the Dallas Cowboys and run the NFL, which being here with you today reminds me just how lucky I am and how wonderful this is. But it is more ambiguity involved than I ever could have imagined. And there's always going to be many dangling participles out here of unfinished business. And that's the reality of it. There will never be a time with the NFL and sports, but what we don't have a lot going on that give you reason to say, this is the time of year when you're just supposed to do football. Well, there's not a million things, but there's so many things going on at all times. and more so today than when I first got involved. And so if I can be specific, I was kind of ready with my thoughts for you. I know we've been talking about what kind of off-season we had, what kind of season ending we had. Well, the facts are that I'm going to need a little bit of help here, but how many Pro Bowlers do we have out here?
14.
14 Pro Bowlers on this field right now.
12 All-Pros.
And 12 All-Pros. We have an outstanding team. And so that part works. We've got a lot of ambiguity in the team. I have ambiguity everywhere in the things that I look at and do. And so I'm maybe the best thing that that God gave me was a tolerance for ambiguity. And so that's what you have. That's what it frustrates you. And in frustrating you, obviously, it frustrates fans to not have closure or to not have bright lines. That's not in my mind. That's not in my life. And so that I don't ever anticipate it getting any better with the NFL and the Cowboys. As a matter of fact, since we last met here last year, there's been even more ambiguity thrown on the table. Hello, NFL. Good to be with you today.
Clarence.
Clarence Hill, 4-Star Telegram. I've been here 35 years, but about 28. But there were times when you did know what you had coming into the camp. And I know you said you got the Pro Bowlers and the All-Pros, but they didn't finish the job. The goal this year is to finish the job and go further than it did last year. With all this ambiguity, with CD not being here, talk about what you did in the off-season, what gives fans hope that you can take the next step? Because that's the bottom line. Not just do what you did last year with the same guys.
I appreciate you saying that, Terrence. Clarence.
Never gets old.
Are we at Oxnard? I've forgotten your question. Seriously. Hey, quit asking questions that I haven't got on my notes here, will you? Please. But seriously, will you condense it a little bit and let me go from there?
Well, I mean, it's been ambiguity. Certainly, we know that. But you talked about the Pro Bowl. The goal is to take the next step, though. You know, you had these same guys last year. You take the next. Why should fans be excited that you can take the next step? In spite of all this ambiguity, especially with CD Lamb not being here, open camp with even more ambiguity with your players.
Well, I'm probably because of the way we ended the season last year, I'm more about winning the award for the best way to end the season than I am winning the award for showing up at camp with my house in order. I'm more worried about ending the season than I am a fast start. You're absolutely right. I'm worried more about, I'm all in to having that game come out different, the last one we played. Now, what I will say, when I look at our roster, when I look at where we are, when I look at the quality of our coaching, I will say that I like as much or better than any time how we're going to be hanging around the rim so that when we get to that game, we can come out of there with a different result. So I think we're very, very positioned, i.e. hanging around the rim, again, which you have to be up there and around there to have a better result at that end. Now, the big question you pointed out, and appropriately so, is do you think you've got a chance to come up with better results when you get there? I don't want to sound, though, and be trite about getting there. That's a big deal. And I want you to know, as much as you might criticize me for it, I take a lot of solace in the fact that we've had the 12-game seasons that we've had over the last several years, the fact that we've got the personnel we've got here at camp, the fact that we've got the coaches we've got at camp. I take a lot of solace that we're going to be there to get a chance to go to that playoffs and do better.
Todd?
Todd Archer with ESPN. For Jerry and Steven, why has it been, with CD, obviously the latest one, why has there been difficulty in not being able to re-sign your key guys to extensions when that's not been a deal in the past? And do you have to alter how you guys approach your approach to the negotiations when you have these contracts coming up the way you do?
This time last year, I'm going to hit it first, but then we'll hear from the guy that really knows what he's talking about. Was it Martin that wasn't here last year?
Correct.
Correct. Pretty big deal. Okay? All buttoned up, contract and all. Wasn't here. Does that ever happen? Of course it does. Look all over the league. It happens all over the league. So I don't flare when it's happening to us. I'm aware of it. You must give me that I'm aware that we want to get these guys to camp. Business as usual, as far as I'm concerned. That's the point of that diatribe I just had before this. I'm used to this. I can live with this. And I feel confident if you look at the fundamentals here, we can get back to the shot we were. I hope that we'll be in better shape. So that's January. Okay, this is July. No, I don't get bent out of shape over the fact that somebody is not here or here at all.
Calvin?
I'll add to that, if you don't mind, Tad.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, if we had these three guys done, there'd be somebody else, I can assure you. They kind of wait in line and seeing when it's their turn. Obviously, we had everything buttoned up last year, and Zach, who's had an unbelievable career, all-pro career, one of the best players to ever put on the helmet here, decided, hey, I've been under a long-term contract and I'm underpaid, and I want to be paid. It's going on San Francisco. You just look around the league. As Jerry said, it goes on everywhere. We have a very unique situation. We have a quarterback who played at the top of his game last year, second in MVP voting, who can leave. And then we got two players who can't leave here for 3 years. Theoretically, if we didn't sign either one of them, I guess we couldn't franchise one 3 years from now. But we could sign one of them. And both of them, rightfully so, believe they should be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. And totally respect that. So very difficult situations that we're trying to work through with them. They want to win. They want to put a ring on their finger, and they understand the difficult situation we have with a high-priced quarterback going into his second high-priced contract. He was the highest paid when we paid him 3 years ago, and then we got two other guys that we're trying to work through. It just takes time. And we're having great conversations with the representatives in terms of CD and Dak. And obviously, Micah's a year removed from where CD is today. CD, in his career and where he is contractually. So I think he wants to go out and show that he is the best non-quarterback in the league, and I hope he does it. But these things just take time, and we're having great conversations with them. It's certainly not easy. I welcome the opportunity that we've drafted well enough to have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, one of the best pass rushers in the league, if not the best, and one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver in the league. Welcome the opportunity. It's great that we draft like that, but it does take time, and it's certainly not easy. You look at a guy like Jefferson, they're not paying a quarterback. They're not paying anybody on their roster at this point. So it's a lot easier for them to stretch a little more, and we're just trying to work through reasonably with CD, reasonably with Dak, what we can do to make it work from an economic standpoint. And certainly when you're trying to pay three guys like that, it certainly does limit your opportunities to maybe improve the roster down the line. Makes it difficult to keep Biotic. It makes it difficult to keep Pollard. And we just got to draft. I mean, we think we drafted 2 great prospects in Guyton and BB. And I think they'll step in and they'll do a great job. Our history says that we've drafted well, and I think they'll both step up. You hate to lose a Pollard, you hate to lose a Biotic, but, that's the nature of this business.
Stephen, let me follow that up. That is the world's smallest violin. Okay? Nobody's feeling sorry for themselves around here. As a matter of fact, I want to tell you how blessed we are to get up in the morning and have these problems. I wouldn't take anything for it. And I'm emboldened. Okay? It puts gas in my tank to basically have these problems. But I was negotiating directly with the players in our last labor agreement. And on our last labor agreement, I was in with them, just me and the players that were negotiating. And we were down to the gnat's ass, where there was not much left in the agreement. Okay? Yet we were sitting there with a point. But that massive labor agreement that we have, over 5 or 6, that issue is a serious issue. In the bigger picture, my experience with the NFL, sports, experience with you, has been that passes and you move on and you go. Now, the other thing I want to say gratuitously is that I've been doing this 30-something years. And I don't feel like I've ever worked a day in my life, ever. But I have spent my life doing it, and I dream about it every day. I'm into it. Here. I'm all in. I'm all in. Sometimes being all in means you narrow. You remove the months out here that are in the future, and you narrow it down to where all we're talking about is right now and the next playoff season, and that's it for everybody. We're all in. We're all in. It's all right there. Let's okay. We all got some things out here in the future, another 2 or 3 years on contracts, all that stuff. Let's all get in here. 0 right now in this. Dak's got his year. Contract. Let's focus right here. We all got a lot on the line for that playoff game. A lot of it. So you've got to understand a weird way of looking at it a little bit with that time. Now, having said that, I want to say this to our fans. I know that I have had a lot of mistakes in these years. But the same guys making this decision that has the Cowboys and really got there by the skin of my teeth. And it was a miracle that I was able to pull it off. A miracle. But the same imagination, the same risk-taking, the same taking risk but being pragmatic, being inconsistent, sometimes looking like you're a Mississippi riverboat gambler and then sometimes looking like you're trying to guard the national vault. Those inconsistencies are how we got here. Now, that is what you're seeing going on right now. And I don't know for sure if it's going to work, but I am giving it everything I've got, and I'm all in to have it everything I've got. As sensitive as our fans are, they got a full-time me. I'm all in.
All right, Calvin.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. It's for Coach McCarthy.
All right. Here you go.
Either way.
Let's talk about football.
Coach, that's football.
There you go.
You got a couple of guys who are coming off-season surgeries, like Mozzie and Luke. Will they be on the PUP, or are they ready to go for the first practice?
Yeah, definitely. We'll work those guys in. Trayvon's obviously on PUP. So, I mean, those guys will be on a limited schedule. Just want to be smart. Obviously, we're in a ramp-up phase here, so we won't even do a team drill. Today we'll be in 7-on-7, and the practice today will resemble an OTA practice that everyone saw there in June.
I got a quick question for Stephen and Jerry. When you talk to your season ticket holders, they've expressed frustration with the lack of success, or are they all in like you guys?
We had our highest rate of renewal that we've ever had on season tickets.
And the fastest it's ever happened in the league, in the NFL. Excuse me, Steve.
Now, there's no one more frustrated than we are with what, I mean, at the end of the day, this is all about, as Jerry said, that last game. It's our postseason success, and no one's more frustrated than we are, and they wouldn't be great fans if they weren't frustrated with the success we've had in the postseason. So it's duly respected in terms of what their frustration is. The good news is, I think Todd said, you don't want them not to care, and they do care. And they spoke. They want to come watch these games. They know we're competitive. They know we're right there. But we got to get the job done, and we hadn't gotten the job done, and we can go out and win a lot of games next year. And they're still going to be pointing to that first playoff game and the second playoff game, hopefully, and on and on. But we all know what the issue is here. It's our success in the postseason. We haven't had it. We know that. Our fans know that. Everybody knows that. These players know it. Mike knows it. His staff knows it. That's the elephant in the room. We've got to go take the next step, and we haven't done that, and until we do it, there'll be frustration.
I'll add to that, we want to beat Arizona last year. We want to beat Arizona. Okay? So it's not that we're not to get to where we'd like to get, to even be eligible to mess up against Green Bay. We want to beat the Arizonas on the way. Of course, we want all that, and we all understand that. I'm saying that so that our fans, through you, will understand that. But when we go to league meetings, NFL meetings, they don't put the team name on the overall league information. So the team is anonymous. But when they put up on that sheet last month where clubs are in renewal, numbers of renewal, total percentage of renewal, and total percentage of anything new, the Cowboys are so far ahead of the rest of them, it's unbelievable when they put that up there. And that's my answer to you. How are our fans reacting to where we are today? Now, what I want to be clear with y'all, that puts gas in my tank. That incentivizes me more than anything that could happen. If you think I don't want to show them and reward them, okay? And if you think something called a dollar bill is standing in my way to do it, you're very wrong. What we deal with cap money is not a dollar bill like you and I sense it with our bank account. It is a tool that cap money is a tool that everybody has the equal amount. And what you've done with it, where you've extended it, where you've used some credit card and spent some of it in the future, all of that is the art of the deal. And you're seeing, I know you are, and you're all aware of it. I read what you write. You know that we've spent money in the future to get the supporting cast that we've got on this field out here. And the games they played the last 4 or 5 years, we're still paying for some of that this year in the cap. That's the way it works. That's the way it works. And if you miscued and spent it and didn't get Green Bay win out of it, then you wish you had it back so that you could use it this year. But that's not the way it works either. That's the art of the deal. But I will say this: if I'm anything, I want to say to our fans, I'm good with math. I'm very good. and I can stretch a dollar because I can put a lot of energy, juice, and bullshit with it. And so I maximize what we've got to work with. I like to think as well as anybody in sports.
John
Michaud with The Athletic. Jerry, you mentioned about Dak potentially going to the final year of his contract, you being all in on this year, him being all in on this season. Has that allowed you to think how long you guys have worked together, you and Dak, that this could be his last season with the Cowboys?
I don't think so. Just to be very specific, I do not think that this will be his last year with the Cowboys at all. Am I being psychotic relative to my mirror? No. It's pretty clear, I think. I want to say it if it hadn't been clear, of how much we appreciate what Dak Prescott has meant to this team in a positive way. And the players do play better when he's out there. He does make his teammates play at a higher level. There's no question about it. So I'm right there in line with his best fan. But believe it or not, in my life, I've had a lot of things I wanted that I couldn't get because I couldn't afford it. Now, have I learned to live with that in 80-something years? You bet I have, and life does go on. And sometimes when you get a bump like that, you turn around and do better than you would have had you got what you wanted. You'd have never known it had you not had to go get there. There's been some of my life with the Dallas Cowboys that's reflected. That had I gotten what I was sick about and ready to jump that I didn't get, had I gotten it, it wouldn't have turned out as positive as it's turned out. So much of this thing we do, specifically with putting rosters together, when you're dealing with availability, injury, when you're dealing with talent fluctuations, when you're dealing with the competitiveness, so much of it creates a level where you just got to go and see what happens. Now, that's not unique. Millions of your readers and your fans that you communicate with, millions of them live that every day. There's nothing new about a human being having to live with ambiguity. Nothing new about that. We all do it. Well, it's alive and well in what we deal with and what I'm dealing with every day. Again, it's a privilege to be here dealing with it now. This isn't the smallest violin. But what the point I'm trying to make is there is nothing new about not having these questions answered that you reflect, and we've reflected in this off season. And yes, I've gone in with not my wish list fully completed, and I've been a part with the Cowboys and been a part of it in the other parts of my life, ended up being the best I ever did.
Nick Harris, DallasCowboys.com. You mentioned there's a lot on the line for this team, and there's 30 players on expiring contracts, big names with those expiring contracts, coaching staff as well. It's clear that a certain success threshold will need to be met to feel comfortable about the core in the future. What does that success threshold look like for you guys as you discuss the future?
If you look over the last 30-something years, you will see that everything's not predicated on the exact one loss. What you're counting on, the people involved in the inside that are there every day and are there with the staff and are there with the players and the coaches. You're counting on, by the way, you do play a game that's with an oblong ball that can go any way on you when it hits the ground. And so you can make some bad mistakes when you totally base your decisions on the results of Green Bay Cowboys last year. You can make mistakes. Now you can't ignore it, and you got to realize, just like our fans do, that it's something to think about. But you can't just be that bright-lined. I'm going to say this to try and answer your question. There's nothing bright-lined about the kinds of things that you would have noted in this off season that are not happening. That's not bright lines. It's got a lot more ambiguity to it.
Anybody have a question for Mike? Because practice is going to start here. Patrick?
Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. And football question, but Stephen, feel free to weigh in from the perspective of roster construction. But counting Hunter Lipke, you guys have 8 running backs on the roster. Can you talk about the challenge of over the next several weeks, how you plan, not necessarily how you plan to, but the challenge of rotating those guys into a point where you have enough data to make a decision on, shaving that down?
Yes, definitely. I mean, when you look at the whole running back group, I think number one, you have to look at Zeke. Zeke's played a lot of football. I mean, we obviously look at all of our players, particularly once they get up around the 30 years old, and the number of reps they have in the league. So we'll definitely be smart with him as far as his reps in practice. So with that, and on the other side of that is younger players get more opportunities. And specific to your question about Hunter, if you look at the direction of the offense last year, we weren't just primarily a one-back team, whether it was 3 receivers on the field or 2. So we do want to expand, some 2-back concepts and things like that. But on the flip side of it, too, Hunter has shown the ability to be a contributor in the one-back offense. So just having that flexibility is important as far as how we want to challenge our opponents. But also, I think it's important to, you always want to create opportunities for, particularly with the running backs, to give them flexibility and diversity, because that's what really, when you get down to it, is, the more that they can do, not only in one back or 2 backs, but also special teams is always a huge factor when you get down to, the end of these tough roster decisions.
Saad
East The Athletic. Stephen, you mentioned that you guys are in a unique situation with all these contracts. Just what is unique? I mean, we've seen other deals get done around the league this offseason. What do you feel is unique about this situation for you guys?
I just think it's very unique that you have a top quarterback on your team as well as 2 players either side of the ball, offense and defensive player, that feel like they're, and rightfully so, the best non-quarterback football players in the league. So you add that up, and certainly it stresses the cap, if you will. But we think we can get them both done. We think we can get Dak done. We think we can get all these things done. But it does require you to make some tough decisions in other places to draft and develop and play your draft picks. That's why, like you said, it wasn't easy. A guy we drafted, a Biotic, a Tony Pollard we drafted, and we're, think the world of both of them. Have to let a Hall of Famer like Tyron Smith walk out the door. Those are tough decisions, but those are decisions you have to make if you want to keep your up-and-coming young players. And I think, we're fortunate that we have this issue.
Stephen, I think as you were making that statement, those 3 players you mean could be 70% of all the money you got, 70% of your payroll. Now you need a little money for the other 51. That's a challenge, especially a challenge when you've used some of the very money that you're working with. You've used it for years past, so you probably got some of there. That's not singing the blues, and it wasn't unanticipated. What is a pleasure is that you're dealing with that quality in that situation, how to keep the top quarterback and how to keep on either side of the ball, as he just mentioned. Add it up, and you'll see about anywhere from 70 to 80% of your whole payroll there. Now, how to figure that and keep the kind of supporting cast that Dak has had in his career. How to keep that supporting cast so that Dak can maintain and improve on where he is, and be spending on those 3 players 75% of your money. That's a challenge. How do you keep a supporting cast like the one we're talking about out here right now, plus on 3 players spend 75%, and plus have spent a little bit of that on your credit card for years past? That's not singing the blues. I'm privileged to get to sit here and try to make it work out, but it's real. It's real. And you look around the league, and everybody does it. If somebody on any one of those players happened to not have to be paying a quarterback, or happen not to have two players on each side of the ball that they're paying, they've got more money to spend for that play. Are there other clubs that don't have what we're just outlining? You bet there are. And so they have got more of their cap that they might allocate for any one of those players. And there's 31 other clubs. That's what happens.
Jerry, you mentioned that you wanted to see leaves fall. With Justin Jefferson's deal getting done, what other leaves are you waiting to see fall for CD to get done?
Well, let me see what today brings, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. No, I'm trying to be cute. Specifically, we are so involved in trying to see where we are with our situations that is a major part of seeing the leaves fall, seeing the time go by, seeing this day and this week, how they go by. And by the way, fault, I have in my life played option quarterback so many times and wait until the last leaf on the tree. And if you want to picture an pure option quarterback going out to the sideline, I have run that ball and kept it and not hand it off to the back, not pitch it back, not throw it. And I have run that thing all the way out to the sideline before I made the decision. Because I couldn't get whatever it took it wasn't right for me to make the decision. And so what our fans, what you're seeing, what we deal with is we're buying time. We're option quarterbacking and we're going on out toward the sideline and we haven't handed it off. We haven't pitched it. We're trying to make our mind up what to do. Does that sound like Mahomes to you? A little bit? Okay. It do. It really do. So having said that, I'm just trying to give you a description here. That's what we're doing. And we're waiting for something to happen in the morning.
Jane.
I was going to first start with Mike, but I'd like to start with you, Jerry, and then Mike, if that's okay. Jane Slater, NFL Network. Real quick, Jerry, you've talked about, circling around the rim and the negotiations and the option quarterback. We've sort of seen this play before. I mean, we saw Zach hold out last year. He got paid. Ezekiel Elliott held out. He got paid. So why not just slam dunk it so you can start camp with these guys? Because to your point, we've been talking about this since April.
Well, I can go back hundreds of times and look where I should have pitched or handed it off to the back rather than keep the ball. And I can do that not just with the instances you're talking about on players, but I can do it in my life many times and say, man, I should have handed that ball off rather than keep on toward the sideline. My point is that that still, whatever frailties there are, and there are some, the negatives in my world have the positives has outweighed the negatives. And you have to look at it. I heard one time to use every decision the Ben Franklin method. And Ben Franklin said, when you're worried and tired and can't sleep, Ben Franklin said, get up in the morning and list on one side all the positives, everything good. And then get up and take on the left side all the negatives, everything bad. And if that positive side beats that negative side by one, you're doing good.
This one for Coach McCarthy. Jerry said that God gave him a tolerance for ambiguity. Do you share the same tolerance as it relates to your contract and not having your star wide receiver here to start camp in a year where you don't have an extension?
I'd really, view this question the same, my whole tenure as a head coach. I mean, and particularly most of these questions here today, I mean, that's part of the business of the National Football League, and that's what it is. But clearly, my energy and my focus and really the players and the coaching staff is not even close to what we've been talking about here the last 30 minutes. I mean, we're excited and energized by this opportunity what's in front of us, and it starts with this training camp. I mean, gosh, just to be here in Oxnard again and excited about the next opportunity, and that's just the reality of competing in the National Football League. Their contract conversations, we talked about that back in the spring, and that's really where it lies with me. I really don't have any. I don't know if I've mentioned the word contract, prior to talking about it right now. So in quite some time, that's not the way we're wired, and we can't be wired that way because there's almost so much time and energy, and we're on an 11-hour workday, and the enthusiasm and energy that goes on in the meetings yesterday and today. That's what we're all about. I can't wait to get out there and get the first down. So, and that's how you get it done. And I get what's happened in the past and the frustrations of the past, but we're past that. We're energized what's in front of us and the reality of the work that we have to do to put ourselves in position to answer those questions next year. The only thing we've been guaranteed is 17 games, and that's where our work and what we identify with. So, and that's the beauty and that we have as any NFL football team, but more importantly, the specialty of being a Dallas Cowboy. So this opportunity in front of us, we want to maximize it and get to work today. And that's where our minds are. That's where, the locker room and the spirit of what we accomplished in the off-season program. And so much time and energy is talked about an individual that may not be here or a contract and situation. But the reality of is when we presented our off-season program awards, we had a 9% increase in workouts last year. The strength levels were an all-time high in our 5 years here under our program. So our program has improved. Our off-season program it shows those results. And from my personal experience, you improve from within. The biggest improvement of our football team will be from the men that were here throughout the spring and through training camp. And trust me, the business part of it is critical. It's important. And, obviously, Jerry and Stephen have addressed that in depth. But our focus is on winning with this roster and this locker room we have. We have a hell of a locker room. We have a hell of a locker room. And the love and energy that's in place here, that's what it's all about. And that's really the reflection of what we're talking about.
Tim Kalishaw, Dallas Morning News. Jerry, as far as you being all in, Mike's job is on the line. That's been discussed. The other coach's job is on the line. The general manager's job is not on the line. Stephen's job is not on the line. 31 other organizations don't do it this way. The only thing that happens here is coaches get recycled, and you've made 8 coaching hires. Why does this make sense for the Cowboys when nobody else does it this way?
I think the Cowboys have had 2 general managers, Tex Ram and me. 2 in the history. You look around the NFL, and I'll bet, I don't know, I really haven't studied this, but I'll bet you they've had 30. They've had as many general managers maybe sometimes as they've had coaches. Since the reality of it is, which was from the day that we walked through the door, that I knew that I was going to have to be responsible for any and everything that went on. So that if that is going to be the case, then I'm trying not to use somebody else's commenters this way. I'm only comfortable doing it that way. I can't delegate that. Now, what that implies is that this thing is a product of me sitting up there throwing darts. That's not the case. I like to think that the reason that I've enjoyed some success in my life is that I've had people like Mike and Stephen in my ear hard. Now, Stephen is my son. And then my children, we all work together. I heard a father's prayer one time that says, please don't let me be a bully. Because I can be, they will let me because they love me. And so that I lay up waking nights making sure that my ears are open and that I'm not too willfully strong. So believe you me, I listen and I get a lot of input. And when this guy to my right talks to me, you notice in a draft room who I'm sitting by? I'm sitting by Mike. When he talks to me, it's going in and it's not coming out. Now, I'm a lot of things, but I'm not slow. So I do listen to the people around me. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be sitting here, Tim. I wouldn't even be sitting here. You can't get here and get to be a part of this, just me. And so I've had lots of input. Jimmy Johnson gave me a lot of input. Okay? Did anybody else have to make the final decision? The decision. Do you punch the button or not? Not one time in history that I've been involved with this team. Now, if my butt has got my mind out someplace else and not on this, then you have to trust me that I know how to, since I'm not on top of the issue, trust it when Mike says, we're going to do it this way. Stephen says, we're going to do it this way. Trust me. That's the way it is, and it's been that way since we got the Dallas Cowboys. Whatever we are or whatever we're not, I think I saw where we've the sixth winningest team in the last 15 years in the NFL or something like that, in the NFL. And with Mike as our coach, we've had, in my mind, we've had really good among 32 teams about what we've done. Does anybody think that good for me is folding it up and not having gotten to a Super Bowl? No. And I hope you all know me enough to know that if you could write a check and I had it and it had actually guaranteed me, whatever it is, you got you a Super Bowl. I hope y'all know I'd write that check. I'm embarrassed to tell you that I would. There's no such thing. And you have the greatest people, greatest coaches, greatest advisors you've ever seen, and it doesn't guarantee you a Super Bowl. Now, I apologize for this self-talk with you here today. But I do and have. This is not your normal GM situation. I mean to tell you, I will change on a dime if Stephen reaches over and says, let me tell you this, I'm going strong here. Or Mike goes strong. Will go strong.
All right, that's going to wrap it up. Practice is starting. Thank you.
Thank you.